and everybody who buys a car, the government pays 50% of the car. I mean, look it up. Really, this is what they, he wanted to make gold. This is why the globalists killed him. This is why NATO went in there and took him out, and Clinton and all these other CFR minions, and Bilderberg people. This is why they took him out. This is why they conspired to say, in the name of freedom, liberty, and justice, we're going to take out Gaddafi, as if we are any better than he is. Now listen, wake up, everybody. We do evil things. This country, in the name of liberty, does the worst tyranny, and it's doing it on our own people, and our own people aren't even aware of it. But at least be aware when we're dropping love bombs and having military kinetic actions that this is tyranny. That's what tyranny is. Okay. In the name of liberty, it's the worst kind. It is absolute despotism, and that's what's going on here. So you got to realize that it's all about control, and Gaddafi was killed because the dinar, the gold dinar that he wanted to free the whole republic and the whole continent of Africa, really make it a wealthy place, by sharing the wealth in a fair, equitable way, in a real fair trade, not real free trade, not this bullshit that they call free trade, which is nothing. It's just collectivism. Period. End of story. All right. So he wanted to buy the dollars in gold, dinars, not dollars. He wanted to be paid for his oil and not in dollars, which is the Rothschilds, and they won't stand for that. They wouldn't stand for that with Saddam Hussein either, who wanted to do it in euros. I mean, even though they have control over the euro, it would have cost them a lot of money because they're such. Listen, you don't understand. These people are the greediest, most, hoarding bunch of. I mean, no, there should be no poverty. Everybody should be. You don't understand. Everybody should be living well, having nice things, and it really is all possible if we can just expose these criminals who have hijacked our government and intend us literally to destroy us, to kill us. And I know that sounds extreme, but all evidence looks to that. Look at how there's such a rise in cancers. Like I told you, and there's reasons why. Autism is through the roof. 40 years ago, 1 in 15,000. 40 years ago, 1 in 15,000. Now, in some communities, as little as 1 in 10. Multiple sclerosis on the rise. Parkinson's, all neurological disorders on the rise. Gastrointestinal problems from GMO foods, all causing more people to take more pharmaceutical drugs. They will milk you dry and take everything from you, treat you, not cure you, until your organs basically break down or whatever, and get everything out of you, and you'll die before you ever collect the the Social Security money that the 60 or 70 bucks they take out of your check every week. Okay. That said, this thing from Aldous Huxley.
Now this is the real problem, because I mean nothing is easier than to formulate high ideals, but few things are more difficult than to discover the means whereby those ideals may be implemented. This is the real problem. I mean, one has to dream, but one has to dream in a pragmatic way to consider how we can obey the injunction to love our neighbors and to behave with goodwill. I think one of the basic problems is somehow to find means whereby the extraordinarily violent drives of our instincts and our emotions can be given expression without doing harm either to ourselves or to our neighbors.
There are educational possibilities in this thing.
I think so. I mean, I hope so, because otherwise I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, this is my concern also. I certainly see psychotherapeutic possibilities, but it's so long and so slow, and there are just so many people, and as you suggest, not much time.
Well, of course, this is, I do think, the gravest problem. I mean, I think our space of maneuver at present is very small. I mean, look at what is happening to the underdeveloped countries. The pressure, numbers upon resources is so great, it seems quite unlikely that
Yes,
many of
we
these
like to
developed countries
starve
ever
you
be
all
able
to
to
death.
industrialize.
That's what we've
all
been
their
doing.
resources
Look at this, this is from
synthetic, feeding new
1962. We've been
generation of
starving you.
the
Ha ha ha.
ideas.
UNICEF has been
And
ha ha ha
they will
ha.
never be able to
UNICEF has
stand
been
back far enough
robbing
to
the
be able
people
to,
like everyone
to
else. Oh,
industrialize.
the criminal
It
Rothschild.
will be like the parable of their development will be like the parable of the Red Queen in Alice Through the Looking Glass. Remember that Alice and the Red Queen ran like mad, and at the end of a long period of running, they found they were standing in the same place. And the Red Queen said, yes, in this country, you have to run as fast as you can to stand in the same place. And to get somewhere else, you have to run twice as fast as you can. And this, unhappily, is the situation, I think, of many of the underdeveloped countries at this moment. This is the tragedy of our world. And unless we do something extremely rapidly and extremely efficiently about this, we're going to be in its gravest trouble.
Are the things that we might do, the things that for you represent good bets for altering educational emphases?
Well, I mean, I'm quite sure we have to think intensively about this and to experiment. This is finally the problem of what do you do about the irrational. I mean, after all, we have built into us neurologically a kind of Jekyll and Hyde. We have the ancient brain stem, which goes back to enormously remote evolutionary past, and we have a relatively modern neopallium or cortex on top of this, which is quite recent. And the one tends to upset the other. I mean, it is, the Jekyll and Hyde are in a sense built into us. And this is the whole natural, genetic basis of the conflict in which man has always lived. And we have to recognize this fact, and we have then to work out the best possible ways on every level, physiological, psychological, educational, sociological, to cope with this fact.
And the question, I suppose, would come up, education for what in all of this?
Well, education, first of all, for survival, which is important as far as I'm concerned, and secondly, I mean, as an ideal, I don't know any higher ideal than the ideal of actualizing the greatest number of desirable potentialities. I mean, potentialities for goodwill, potentialities for intelligence in every way, potentialities for creativity. I mean, these three things, if we can actualize our potentialities in this direction, and we certainly have them, we have potentialities which have not been actualized, then we've done something. We really have made the best of our human condition.
Of late, I know you have made much mention of nonverbal factors, particularly in education. This nonverbal aspect intrigues me considerably.
We have to think of this side of man, which I mean the whole psychophysical organism. There's a very striking phrase in Spinoza, where that very great philosopher says, make the body, I would now say the psychophysical organism, make the body capable of doing many things. In this way, this will help you to perfect the mind and
To be like a god, right?
Love of God.
Yeah, to be a god, yes. Huh.
But this is a very striking phrase from a philosopher who was profoundly intellectual. But I mean, he saw quite clearly that we have to take the mind-body as it is and to make it capable of responding to the external world and to the events within itself in a clear awareness. We have to heighten our awareness and heighten the things that we do with it. And this requires, it seems to me, a whole kind of education on the non-verbal level. In a certain sense, I would say that the whole, an entire program for both kinds of education, both on the conceptual and verbal level and on the non-verbal level, is outlined by Wordsworth. William is sitting on a stone by the side of a lake, and his friend Matthew comes to him and says, "Why do you spend all your time sitting here? Why aren't you reading your books?" And he replies that there is, besides reading books, there is a kind of wisdom which comes to man through what he calls a wise passiveness. He says the eye cannot choose but see, we cannot bid the ear be still. Our bodies feel where'er they be, against or with our will. No less I deem that there are powers which of themselves our minds impress, that we can feed this mind of ours in a wise passiveness. And this is this idea of a wise passiveness runs all through the literature of art. You'll find this again and again, this prelude to creativity, alert passivity. And this comes again and again in the literature of art, and it comes again and again in the literature of mystical religion, the necessity of being passive and receptive as well as active. I mean, that we must somehow learn to move back and forth between a wise activity and a wise passiveness. We must be able to take in order to be able to give out. The great mystic Meister Eckhart says, "What I take in by contemplation, I give out in love." And this, I think, is equally true. You give it out not merely in love, you give it out in creation, you give it out in thought. I mean, I personally believe strongly in, quote, inspiration. I mean, whether it comes from the nine muses, I don't know, but it is a psychological fact. And inspiration comes in this state of alert passivity.
And yet, of course, I think we have, don't we, in a Western culture, an emphasis on the activity, doing something, and always showing some final product which represents the worth of the person who produces it.
Yes, and yet these Western artists, just as much as anybody else, have insisted that the receptivity was essential. I mean, that not merely did you have to impose a frame of reference upon the world, you had also to let the world come to you without a frame of reference, and to come to you, so to say, as things in themselves. I mean, what Kant said, you could never see the Ding an sich, the thing in itself. But you have to admit it. It's never the thing in itself, but it is very nearly the experience, unmodified by the conceptualizing and symbol-making cortex. It just comes to you, and what is within has to be allowed to come to you without being modified by the conceptual mind.
Is this passivity in Western religion?
Certainly in the mystical tradition, it's very strong, I would say. I mean, you find it throughout the great medieval mystics, you find it throughout the 17th century mystics, you find it in the great English mystic of the 18th century, William Law, and you find it, of course, in the Quakers, I mean, who have probably more than any Protestant denomination been concerned with this alert passivity. After all, the whole business of the Quaker silence is to create circumstances in which alert passivity is possible and in which something can come through from the deep mind or from that which lies beyond the deep mind.
And you have feeling that this can be incorporated within a general standardized procedure at the level of school for the younger children?
I don't know why not. I mean, at present it would be a little difficult, but as I say, we can do whatever we want. I mean, we're not fools.
Was quite, observant to the fact that it doesn't matter what he says, it's really what's happening. And he knows the agenda of the elite. And he certainly leaned toward them on several matters. Again, whitewashing what is really true. Very similar thing. This is really what they do. I hope that some of the things struck you as far as the fact that he spoke about being God, and that's what I've been trying to mention. It's this whole God thing, this God complex that they have, this real, very, I don't know, almost like they want to evolve and become God. So, I mean, that is really their intention. Can they do it? Will they do it? Obviously not. Anyhow, this is We Are Change, and I'm Howard Nema. You're listening to informedradio.com. Give us a call, 772-905-3018. We could talk about the elite and the fleecing of the American people and the world